الدين النصيحة، وأعظم نصيحة الدعوة إلى التوحيد والتحذير من الشرك، الدعوة إلى اتباع النبي والتحذير من البدع، الدعوة إلى الطاعات والتحذير من المعاصي والمنكرات، الدعوة إلى لزوم الجماعة والتحذير من الفرقة والاختلاف، لزوم الاستقامة والبعد عن الشهوات والشبهات. هذه 10 أمور مهمة يعتني بها الناصح في من ينصح. فأول من ينصح نفسه ويعتني بنفسه ونصح أهله ومن تجب عليه ولايته ونصح الناس تزكية لنفسه وللآخرين.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So in this clip, I found it to be really insightful because it's a great reminder about how this phrase, "don't judge me," is incorrect. Because in the context of when people start to use that, it's usually used to shut people down, push them away, and for you just to turn a blind eye. And when the Sheikh mentions that the religion is sincere advice, checking my notes here just to make sure, and that the greatest advice is calling to Tawheed and warning against shirk, innovation, and calling to acts of obedience and warning against evil deeds and sins, we can see that as Muslims we're to look out for each other. And if you think you're above being held accountable for what you promote or your failings, well, then you're really left the fold of sanity, I'd argue, because sincere advice isn't always supposed to be someone groveling at your feet, stroking your ego, and charming you so that you pay attention. There can be firm, serious, and stern criticism that is constructive. And some people feel attacked no matter what tone you take or how soft you are in your approach. They're always going to find something to, "Oh, you're judging me and that's wrong and mind your own business." And you're like, well, wait a minute. You're promoting this. You are showing off this type of behavior so in a public way. So obviously 2 sentences of something or 3 sentences of sincere admonition is not that big of a deal, you know? But for some reason, the Christian ethos of "judge lest not ye be judged" and these phrases that people have has allowed mediocrity and innovation to infect their religion to the point where they have lesbian priests and they condone things that go against their actual text. And how much they've innovated, from the Easter Bunny to Santa Claus to Halloween, St. Patrick's Day. No matter which way you square it, you constantly see Christians adding stuff into their religion. And their newest innovation is white supremacy on a scale unseen before. Okay? Obviously, there was a lot of racism in the past with colonialism and all that, but now in America, you actually see a rift of Christians separating by race. And that's division. And us Muslims are not supposed to separate along racial lines. Yes, some people still do, but it's not something that Islam tells us to do, right? It's not something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to do. There's no sin in race mixing, right? So it's interesting that in order to be able to give advice, you have to know what you're talking about. But also this is a reminder for us that there's going to be people who say, "Hey, X, Y, and Z." Now, some people are not sincere, and I think when you get snappy with some of them, I understand it, because some people are just trying to be contrarians, and they're trying to make a name for themselves by constantly ankle biting and being snarky and trying to find any fault and then maximize that fault, okay? And so we have to be careful of that, the intentions behind it. And when it comes to warning against sins, that's really important, because some people say anytime you warn publicly, it means you're backbiting. But at the same time, you're like, you're not able to just walk up to that person and tell them something privately. And that's not an automatic requirement, because let's say, for example, Brother Sneeko meets with Kanye West. How am I supposed to give him sincere advice? I literally can't. It's not possible. Okay? The better thing to do is to just make a public statement and say, you should be very careful of hanging out with people who are that degenerate, that hedonistic, and materialistic. You have to be very careful. A simple reminder for people who might be influenced by either Sneeko's poor choice in companionship and Kanye West as a whole, right? And there's no possible way I could ever, we can, as women, we cannot free mix and we cannot privately DM this person. So, speaking out with words is the least someone can do, right? And public influencers are different than your neighbor, because these are people who have a large reach and they say things publicly, so their public discourse can be discussed publicly because it's literally public. It's not private DMs or anything like that. And so I found this to be helpful and insightful. And the innovation part is key too, because you'll see people who, the more I've learned about Islam, the more when you see someone try to innovate something, you ask them, do you have a citation for that? Like, do you have any proof that that's true or something, that we should do that? And then they kind of stumble. They realize they don't, and then you research it, you find out they're wrong, and then they find out they're wrong, and they're a little embarrassed. But that whole cautionary ethos of, is this Sahih? Is this true? Is this the Sunnah? What is this? Right? Because there are a lot of feminists and red pillars who try to innovate things into the religion of Islam in order to twist it and distort it. So it's important for us to keep an eye on that, right? Let me know what you think. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Join the blog.